Alright, so my father is a taxidermist, and when people find out about that, particularly geeks, they have tons of questions. So I thought, to head off the questions, I'd do a lightning talk on the subject. Alright, so first, where does the word taxidermy come from? It actually comes from two Latin words, taxi and dermy. Taxi means to adjust, and dermy actually comes from the word dermis, which means skin. So taxidermy means to adjust skin. This is actually very important. We no longer stuff animals. We take their skin and put them over a mannequin. So the basic taxidermy process, first you need to remove the skin from the animal, and then you need to get the skin tanned. Now, the pictures for doing this are very graphic, so I decided it would be better not to show them. And you will all thank me for that. Actually, it turns out the taxidermists don't like taking pictures of this process. It's actually very hard to find pictures. My dad didn't have any. So anyway, moving on. Once you have the skin removed, and once it's been tanned, which basically is a process to dry it out so it does not rot, you put it on something that looks like this. This is a typical mannequin for a deer head. It's made out of a very tough type of styrofoam. It can be sanded and shaped. My dad likes to use Bondo auto body filler to fill in the crevices if he needs to do that. It's a very malleable substance that has a lot of strength. One of the key components to a deer head is, or any animal that gets mounted, is the eyes. It's the eyes that give the piece its lifelike appearance. So the eyes are very carefully constructed. They're made out of glass. They're hollow and convex and concave. The inside is what is actually painted. And that gives it a little bit of a glimmer, so when the light hits it, it looks more lifelike. That's actually very, very important. Selecting the eyes is a very difficult process. This is a finished deer mount that my dad had done in his shop. This is what you normally typically see in media. You can essentially mount any mammal. Basically anything that has...
Mine's out of the gun.
And I'm not quite sure why that was funny. Sometimes to add more realism to the piece will be mounted or put into a display that shows what the animal looked like in its normal natural habitat. This is such an example. Here's another one of a very lazy raccoon. This is a coyote standing on a rock. These are all shots from my dad's shop. Here you can see there's a mannequin for a bear and also a mounted bear. We'll talk about these in a second. My dad is actually very busy, so one of the common questions is, if I give you a deer, how long will it take till I get it back? Well, because the process takes about 2 months per deer, and he gets a lot of them. These are from this year's deer hunting season. It can take upwards of 1 year to 2 years before you'll see your deer head back. And this is just an example of just how busy he really is. Yes, you can even mount dinosaurs because they are mammals, or some of them are. But you don't see that very often, obviously. This is what happens when taxidermists have fun. They take the leftover pieces and create crazy creatures. My dad likes to call these swamp boogers. They're made out of the rear end of a deer as well as the mouthpiece is actually part of a coyote or a wolf. These actually sell rather well. It's kind of surprising. So one of the very common questions that we get is, will you mount my pet? And the answer is absolutely not. And the reason for that is because it's actually a very good reason. It's very difficult to capture the facial expression of an animal in exactly the same way that you remember them being. And so because of that, if you mount the pet and you give it to someone, it'll actually be really freaky because it's not going to actually look like your pet. So he absolutely refuses to do it. And that's all I have.
How did you learn?